800 meters from Diane Dixon. The top amateur athlete in the world in 1987 is also here. Jackie Joyner-Kersee, the world record is definitely within reach tonight. Romania's Joina Malinte. Oh, she is unbeatable this year. But the field in the 800 meters is magnificent. But she, too, is talking world record. And the men's hurdles, world champion Greg Foster should be smoking, particularly after some bitter words last week with fellow hurdler Tony Campbell. And the mile tonight, Somalia's smooth-striding Abdi, the world champion at 1,500 meters a year ago, is in peak form. But don't you dare count out the Irish. Marcus O'Sullivan a week ago ran the third fastest mile in history. In the high jump, only 4 men have ever jumped higher than Russia's Igor Paklin. It should be quite a show. Tonight, it's the Times GTE Indoor Games. California, no, you won't see Kareem tonight, but you will see some magic. Well, a very pleasant good evening to you, everybody. I'm Bill Stone, along with noted track and field analyst Larry Roston. And Larry, perhaps the finest assemblage of international track and field stars in this nation and this indoor circuit this year.
Bill, it's been a fine season, and it's been helped in the last couple of weeks here in the United States by the presence of a top-notch group of Russian athletes that are here to compete, both men and women, and you're going to get a chance to see some of the best in the world, certainly the best Russians here tonight.
I don't think there is any question. It is one of the strongest meets we have seen in this country in a long, long time. In the women's 800 meters, what a loaded field led by the flashy Romanian Joina Malinte.
Well, Malinte is the 1984 Olympic champion at 800 meters, and she's going to test the mettle of the best Americans. Delisa Walton-Floyd was ranked #1 in America last year, and Malinte is in shape. Just last weekend, she ran 4:18 for the mile, a new world indoor best.
And in the men's mile, it'll be the world champion in 1,500 meters, Somalia's Abdi Bile, and he, too, is going to face quite a field. Ireland's Marcus O'Sullivan is in attendance.
Well, not only those two, but Peter Elliott, who was the silver medalist at the World Championships in Rome, is here. Third place went to America's Jim Spivey, who was the top miler over Steve Scott last year. They're all in the race. Only the second time since the World Championships those top 3 finishers are in the same race, and Marcus O'Sullivan is favored to beat all 3.
Well, the near-capacity crowd is in for quite a show on the track. But how about the field events? Dwight Stones will handle those. Dwight?
Phil, this meet is loaded with field events. The throwing events were contested this afternoon over at West LA College, and tonight we have a full complement of jumping events here at the Times GTE Indoor Games. Some of the more notable participants: Igor Paklin of the Soviet Union, last year's world indoor champion and former world indoor and outdoor record holder in the high jump, versus Jimmy Howard, the American record holder indoors and out, who just jumped 7 feet 8 inches last week at the Meadowlands. Also, everyone's female athlete of the year, Jackie Joyner-Kersee, who just broke her own indoor American record in the long jump last week in New Jersey. Now she chases Heike Drexler's world record. She says she's ready to jump 24 feet. Tonight's competition is the final Grand Prix meet before next week's Indoor National Championships. The athletes should be ready by now. I think we could be in for some very exciting performances tonight. Bill?
Thank you very much, Dwight. Taking a week off the wars on the track to join us for the wars in the broadcast booth is Evelyn Ashford. And Evelyn, who do you like tonight, the women's sprint?
I like Diane Williams and Juliet Cuthbert. They're both at the same fitness level right now. I think it'll be a good race.
And I suppose in the women's hurdles, you cannot ignore Gail Devers.
You cannot ignore Gail Devers. She's doing quite a few events tonight, but she'll be sharp for the hurdles.
Of course, when you're talking hurdles, you're talking about world champion Greg Foster. He is here. A week ago, he and Tony Campbell got into a bitter feud following a race on the East Coast. Tonight, the continuing saga of Greg Foster. California. And the official results of the women's mile, Romania's Matica Iuneactu wins it, a time of 4:35.74. Well, when you think of the great track coaches, certainly the name Fred Thompson of the Adams Track Club in Brooklyn comes to mind. Terry Crawford, the women's coach at the University of Texas, comes to mind. And Dwight Stones, as you are well aware, oftentimes a coach can make or break an athlete.
Phil, you know, coaching philosophies are as varied as the coaches themselves. We're going to take a look at a couple of coaches who are responsible for preparing some of the best athletes in the world. Bob Kersey is used to training talented athletes. George Mason feels that for America's college athletes to do better on the international circuit, especially the track stars, collegiate coaches may have to sacrifice some of the team's glory for the growth of the individual.
Collegiately, our schedule really is prohibitive. It's very arduous. It's at best terrible. You can't run races for middle distance runners in the fall and then go again in the winter at a very high level, and then be prepared to make an international team. It just somehow runs out of gas, and it's an oversimplification. And I don't have all the answers, but I think you really need to pull kids back and work with them one-on-one, and not throw them into the relays, and not double them. Doubling is a nightmare in this country. You know, it's the name of the game. To run a kid in the 800, bring him back in a 4x8, or run him in a mile, bring him back in a 4x8, and they'll run 4 or 5 races in 1 weekend. It'll put like 10 relays, and it's good for the team, it's good for the school, it's good for Arkansas, it's good for Cook, it's good for George Mason, it's good for Villanova. But basically, it ain't good for the kid. With Abdi, we pulled him back, and I guess the smarter I got, which took me a while because I made a lot of mistakes, the more I realized, hey, I really need to take care of this guy. And then I weaned him along, and I raced him less, and we prepared better.
As a personal note, it's nice to see coaches that will realize that they've got great athletes under their tutelage and that they have to be careful with the way they bring them along. I've seen an awful lot of athletes burnt out by coaches who feel like they need to be run in every single meet, in every single event. It's nice to see a couple of coaches who know what meets are important during the year.
Al Dwight, you're absolutely right. Al, to the women's long jump. Jackie Joyner-Kersee is in the field, and is she? He was initially slated to take part in tonight's meet. The American record is Johnny Gray's. And this is really anybody's race, Larry Rawson. You look at the field here in the men's 800 meters, Quazira, Brown, or Kirsch. Any of the three can win this.
Very fine field here. I'll tell you, this is a good race. Stanley Redwine forges to the lead. 800 meters is the race of thoroughbreds. It takes speed and stamina. And boy, this is a surprise. This is George Kirsch, a freshman at Taft Community College here in California. Was just the top high school intermediate distance runner in the nation last year. He ran 1:46 for 800 meters. Amazingly gifted athlete here.
Yeah, he set a high school record for the 800 last year, and also last year voted the high school athlete of the year by Track and Field News. We're talking about George Kirsch.
Second place is Stanley Redwine. Third is an interesting guy, Diodon Quazira, who is in third place. Ray Brown is in fourth. John Marshall is in fifth. Ibrahim Okash from Somalia and Southern California, University of, is trailing the field right now. Brown likes a hard pace. Let's see if they force the issue here.
Now Brown has moved up into third place, and now he is about to take over second place, and he is unable to do it. It is still George Kirsch.
55.8 for the first 400 meters. It's a little slow, folks.
Stanley Redwine running in second place. Kirsch and Redwine.
300 meters to go right now in this race. This Quazira, right out of high school last year. Lived his senior year of high school in the United States. He ran 1:46. Unbelievable. 1 lap to go.
Diodon Quazira, an outstanding indoor runner, is really putting the heat on the freshman from Taft Community College, George Kirsch. And Quazira is really trying to catch him on this turn. George Kirsch, he is really laying it on. Quazira is trying to come up on his shoulder. And it is Quazira. Diodon Quazira, a finalist at the World Championships last year in Rome. Larry, you were there. You saw him run at the World Championships, and what a show he put on here.
Fascinating story about this young man. A coach in the United States was over helping out and teaching some of the athletes in Burundi, where he's from. Look at the stretch run. He's got the speed despite his lanky build. He overcomes a terrific young talent for the United States, George Kirsch, as John Marshall gets up and almost gets second place on there. Watch the straightaway here. Unofficially 1 minute 50 and 1/10 of a second. The second 400 meters faster than the first. Look at him run towards the tape here. Look at the strain in the face of Kirsch.
Well, Diodon Quazira, as I said at the outset, not really a surprise winner at all when you consider he won the Olympic Invitational 800 just last week.
Well, an interesting story about this guy, and this coach discovered this talent over there and said, my goodness, this man is awesomely gifted, brought him back for his senior year of high school to compete in the United States last year.
Well, he walks right off the track and finds Dwight Stone. Dwight?
Phil, this guy doesn't even seem to be tired right now. Diodon Quazira, did you like the fact that the pace was very slow? Was that good for you?
Yeah, the pace was not there fast, but you know, in indoor you have to run tactical race, just try to win it. It was not possible to run a faster time here.
How do you feel about the sizes of the tracks like this, 11 laps to 1 mile?
Well, for me, you see I'm very tall. I have long legs. It's very hard to run indoor. Whenever I run indoor, I try to run a tactical race, just try to win. Because last year I lose many races because I didn't know how to run indoor. I was boxed inside, I couldn't move outside. But this year, from the mistakes I made last year, I'm getting very good running indoors.
Well, you look very relaxed. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Back up to Phil.
All right, Dwight.
A race for up-and-coming athletes. This is our future running.
This is Janine Vickers running for UCLA.
Janine Vickers. A comfortable lead now as she swings out of the final turn. And it'll be UCLA beating the Southern California Cheetahs.
Their time, 4 minutes, 6/10 of a second unofficially for that mile relay performance indoors. Let me correct it. It said 4 minutes up there. There's the corrected time.
Well, Dwight, the women's long jump is currently underway, and still, Jackie Joyner-Kersee is right where we thought she'd be.
Well, Phil, Jackie Joyner-Kersee is such the class of any field in the long jump. In this
Those long, very fluid strides.
He is there at the starting line, and I see him over there. And up there, this is a very deep, talented field, and he has got to force that pace. And I'm not surprised. Watch him slog along. We're coming pretty close to the mile time. I'll try and give you and our viewers here a mile split as O'Mara and Scott lope along in second and third place, respectively.
Well, the men's 3,000 meters, we have reached just about the halfway point. We'll take a timeout here in Inglewood, California. When we return, the finish of the men's 3,000 meters.
4 minutes, 21 and 3/10 of a second by the mile mark as Tracy continues to try and forge the pace and drop some of these athletes. You can see he's having no success by the number of people that look like an accordion stretched out right behind him.
Well, Tracy, still another of the Irish Corps. Tracy, Paul Donovan, Ray Flynn, and Frank O'Meara of the 11. 4 are from the tiny nation of Ireland.
Well, it goes back even before. There you see the mile split. It goes back even prior to Ron Delaney's time, but certainly over the last 30 years, they have sent nothing but great runners that have come to these shores. Marcus O'Sullivan being the latest miler who we'll see.
You look at this field of 11, and really, Larry, you've got 7 of the 11 who could possibly win it. O'Meara, Scott, Flynn, Padilla, Donovan, Mark Junkerman of UCLA, and possibly Kenya's Julius Kariuki.
The only guy really out of it back in the pack, a very good runner in his own right from Ireland, Paul Donovan is back in the pack. And I'll tell you, Padilla is still close for striking distance, but he's got to get up a little closer to these guys. He is back running right now in 8th place. There he is. He's moving into 7th place, Padilla is. 2,000 meters reached in 5 minutes, 21 seconds. They ran about a 61-second quarter then. So right now he is trying to break this field. This is Tracy in the lead. The other guys seem to be holding on pretty comfortably. There's Padilla moving up. Now the race is beginning. Look at this.
There's Padilla. He is coming up now in 2nd place, and he is going to challenge Tracy for the lead.
There's a real dark horse wearing the black out there, taking the lead. Ashford, a relative unknown. He's a 4:01 miler. He's had a lot of promise. Mark Junkerman from UCLA up there. There's O'Meara now moving. This is getting really interesting here.
And again, it is O'Meara trailing now Wes Ashford, a student at Brigham Young University. What a field here in the men's 3,000 meters. 4 laps to go.
After the next lap, they'll have just over a quarter of a mile. We're going to see a tremendously fast finish here.
You've got 7 of them all bunched, any one of which could win the 1988 GTE Times 3,000 meters.
Okay, here comes Padilla. Let's get this last quarter mile split if we can, and this will be a fast time. This last quarter, Padilla's got control.
It is Padilla.
That is Kariuki in 2nd place. Junkerman in 3rd. In the inside in all black is Ashford. Back in 5th place is O'Meara. And Steve Scott still well within himself. Look at him slice through the group up there. That's Scott.
And now it is Kariuki. He is primarily a steeplechase
can no longer train like a 25-year-old. Scott, Karayuki, O'Mara, 31-year-old Steve Scott, what a show he is putting on, and he looks as strong as ever. Scott, O'Mara, and Steve Scott has made it look easy. Unbelievable. Phil, he needed this victory. He's had a bad indoor season, fraught with illness and just not running well going back over the last year.